We're so excited, everybody, because Spark is back for a limited run engagement in November.
Yeah, we are so excited. We had a great run in July. We heard from a lot of people that they want more. So we are happy to let you know that we've added 3 shows, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The performances will take place in Norwalk, Connecticut at an amazing venue. It's the personal studio and performance venue of an incredible artist named Five Fingers. And the venue is called the Art Monster Studio. We will put the ticket link in our bio as well as on our website, woowoointherealworld.com. You won't want to miss this production, and we hope to see you there. My joy is her joy, is his joy, and our joy to share. Welcome back to Woo Woo in the Real World. We are in the thick of it here. We are talking all things Spark moments, and that means that we're talking to the ladies of the Spark Experience, which is a immersive theatrical production. And I'm so excited for today's guest. Luz Michelle is in the pod house. Welcome, Luz.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah.
Welcome, welcome.
So we've been talking a lot about, these moments in our lives that change the course of our lives, right? So that's what we're dedicating the season to. And, Becky and I have spent a lot of time talking about, all this woo-woo stuff and like, how do we embody it when we're not, sitting on a yoga mat or saging our houses or, it's just like, and then what happens when, you are out in the world and, trying to be a sane, positive person, living your authentic life, but life still keeps tripping you up and, beating you up sometimes, right? And challenging us, right? And so Spark is about those moments too, and the growth that happens as a result of that. And of course, your story that you tell in the show is just baller.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
Yeah. It's really powerful, really powerful. But before we jump into your story, why don't you give our listeners a quick little background bio on Luz Michelle? Who are you? What do you do?
Okay.
What's your story?
Morning glory.
Oh, so on the light. Okay, so I'm Luz Michelle. I'm a stand-up comedian for 14 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, woo, still going.
Still standing.
Still standing, exactly.
Oh boy. And the
Uh-oh.
jokes
It's
begin.
been a long day.
Let's leave the jokes to Luz.
Okay.
Oh God, don't. You girls are funny.
Just kidding.
I run my own company, as you ladies know, and some do know, called Hard-Headed Comedy. And I produce live, powerful stand-ups throughout the tri-state area in Connecticut. And I have been producing more local, and it's been feeling really very, very humbling to be able to bring what I love to do closer to where I live instead of always being on the road.
Totally.
Who else am I? I'm a woman. I'm a woman with a story. And that's why I'm so happy that Spark came into my life, because it has been very transforming. And yeah, it's great to be here again. And it's great to be here after a period of time has passed. Like there's something in there that's really been coming up for me, like just us being together again. Because you don't get to always do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I'm glad that you're feeling that, because
Yeah.
that's what Tami and I were saying that too. And we were thinking about season 4 and what we wanted to do. And really, before we even knew that Spark was going to have a second run, we were bouncing around this idea of we need to have the Spark women on because we want to talk about it. We want to talk about the experience that happened in July, and not even, well, we do want to talk about the experience in July, but also the lead up to that experience and just the whole process of Spark coming into being. And so I'm glad that you're having the same feeling that we are about that.
Yeah. And it was like when you guys reached out, like it was just almost like a Hail Mary, like it was like, it is going to happen again. Like just that, like, that confident reminder, like we're going to do it again. Because
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued how it's going to be now that we have an awareness, such an awareness
Right.
of the show, of our pieces, of who we are. Like, I'm not the same person I was when I came into Spark, now that I'm not,
Right.
no,
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait to
Oh,
talk
we're gonna
about
dive into
that.
that.
yeah.
Bookmark that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So, I think it's important to kind of start the conversation off with sort of how you and I intersected, right? And so in this space that I was in for a little while in Bedford Village called the Soulful Lounge, I decided that I was going to use that space for lots of different things, but also I wanted to offer up free meditation to the community, right? And so that was on Thursday mornings, I think maybe at 10 or 10:30, I don't remember.
Yes, I'm 10.
Hmm. Um, and I just put it out there, right? With, a sign up, like you have to RSVP because I only have 12 cushions, right? So basically it's free, but you have to reserve your cushion. And so I think you were just like maybe a late morning sign up to one of the Thursday meditation classes, right? Like I did not know you at all.
Mm-mm.
Um, and you came in and we had this experience, right? I think there were, I don't think that one was sold out, but there definitely were more women, right? It was a pretty
Yeah, it was a full
full
room.
group of women, right? So it was probably 12. Um, and we just really connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, your energy coming into it, I just felt something from you, right?
Mm.
And then, kind of go through this meditation class and, we spent some time talking. So what do you remember from that initial experience, that sort of connectedness that happened? Like you just show up at this place and
Yeah.
you're like, man, I need to fucking meditate.
Well,
And then end up in a theatrical performance. Like,
Right?
and that's the energy I walked in with, because I originally signed up through a mutual friend, and she was all like, you got to go. You're going to love Tami. You're going to love what she's creating, the whole nine. And she texted me like, as I was parking, that she's not going to make it. And at first I was hesitant because I was like, oh man, I'm coming
Oh,
in.
so you were supposed to come together with a
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were going to meet there. And I was like, I knew where I was at, and I wasn't in the best space all around. That's why I was coming. And my girlfriend was going to be my buffer, so I didn't come off too aggressive or dark or whatever it may be. And I was like, I'm going, like, I'm going. So I remember I walked in and the energy right away just felt open. I didn't feel like I was walking in on something that was already like locked in, and these are the groups and everyone knows each other. And when I sat down, there was a woman next to me she was shedding tears, talking with the person next to her. And I felt this sense of like comfort, where I was in a space where I'm really going to be able to just be myself, because I wasn't in a great space. And
Mhm.
spiritually, in that moment, I needed help. I needed guidance. I was, and it was the second time I came
Mhm.
that I winded up being the only one. I don't know if it
That's
was a
right.
form, it was something. And Tami and I had this like huge one-on-one, like in-depth conversation on the couch. And I told her my story. And then, yeah, you were like, you got to do this show. Like, you have to share this story. And it was having that visualization and manifestation for decades of
Mhm.
seeing myself telling my story, but having no idea how it was ever going to happen, but knowing it was going to happen. And when she asked, like right away, I was like, there it is. There it is.
wow.
And it was everything, because I felt a sense of hope,
Mm.
because like we could always have like these goals or these dreams, especially when we're artists and we're creators, that we want it to happen. So for the invitation to be given off of a second meetup in such a vulnerable state, it was beyond, like, it felt like the golden universal ticket, like what you got for Willy Wonka,
Mm.
you know, like I feel like I got the chocolate, you know, like I got the
Mm,
right one.
I love that.
I am like, I have like chills, like full body chills right now. I didn't know the whole story
Yeah.
because when we met Luz, when Luz came in to the Spark experience, we were into it. So we
Yeah.
were like kind of already into it. And it was a crazy time because like that's right when I had like decided to sell my house and like I was buying another house and my head was like in like 10 bazillion different directions. And whereas Tami and I would normally like
Mm.
talk all the time and I would get like all the cool, juicy woo-woo stories, we just didn't have time to debrief on all of this. So it was exciting to meet you. It was awesome to have you as part of the group, but I did not know that story. And I didn't know that you had already had a dream of telling your story and just didn't know what that vehicle was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I think we both were just, I don't know. I mean, I had chills. So my side of that is, you know, Luz being vulnerable with me that way and telling me her story. And even though like, we were in it with Spark at that point in terms of the development and the vision for it, I was still struggling a lot with my own identity, with, how I was brought into the world. And, I don't go so much into one part of my story in Spark because like that's like a whole other thing, right? But what I will say is that for, I don't even know, 4 decades, 5 decades, so we're talking like 40 or 50 years of my life,
Mm.
I have been haunted and struggling really with my identity as it relates to the day I found my birth certificate and it revealed information about who my biological father was. Looked for this person my entire life and then realize through an illness that my youngest son was having, and we had some DNA testing done, that I actually have the wrong name on my birth certificate, right? And so there's a lot in there to like unpack. And yes, that's part of my story and part of what I want to talk about. But um, I had a lot of shame around that. I carried that around and I thought I must be the only person in the fucking world who has the wrong name on her birth certificate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your birth certificate. There's no gray area.
Yeah.
That's literally supposed to be black and white.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Literally.
there was like black marks on my birth certificate. My birth certificate was such a mystery, right? Now the thing is, here comes Luz. I've never met her. We're just like so in it. We've meditated. We're talking. We're crying. She tells me about her story and her mother and her birth certificate. The second she said birth certificate, I
Mm.
was like, oh my God, my people.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it does. It's like, oh, you got a story like that? I've got a story like that. Wow.
Because you do, like when that moment occurs, you feel alone because it doesn't make sense. Like it's just like, wait, how do I not have this information? How did I not know? Right? For me,
Right.
it was 40 years on the planet. How for 40
Right.
years did I not know my name? Like
Mm,
how,
that's
how
right.
something I have looked at, you know, like and just oh
Yeah.
man, yeah. And then when
Yeah.
you exactly hearing your story, like it was like, yeah, isn't it messed up?
Yeah.
Like,
And we did what the
wow.
natural thing that most people do is like, let's go on a stage and tell it in front of a bunch of
Yeah,
strangers.
yeah. Now let's tell everyone. Yeah.
But
So
let's have Becky
natural.
and Lynn playing music in the background to make it
Why
like
not?
really
Exactly.
okay and really nice.
True. True.
Oh my
Really
gosh.
nice.
Well, it's probably a good segue to how we like to start a conversation with our guests,
Hmm.
because we like to ask people to give us a picture, a little snapshot of who they were at 5 years old. And so,
Oh my
who
goodness.
were you at 5 years old? What were you? What was Luz Misha? What were you like?
I was very curious. I was very curious from the get. And that picture, I love that picture because it always reminds me of who I am.
Mm.
Like
Tell everybody what picture you're referring to.
it's a picture of, well, no, how do I do that? What do you mean? Like,
Well, you say that picture. Oh, in your mind of yourself, you mean?
well, the picture that I gave you guys, right? That's
That's
our
what I'm saying. Yeah.
self.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like every time I see that picture, I remembered I was just so me. I was so me in that moment. You know, like whatever was happening, maybe I was talking to someone and then my father or my mother snapped that picture. It's like I was so aware of who I was. And I
Mm.
see it. I see it in my eyes, the way I'm smiling, my body language, like I know myself. And it's interesting to now at 44 see that picture and be aware that I am there again.
Mm.
You know, like I am more aware of who I am.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to share really quick, I did a podcast the other night, and one of the questions they asked me was, what's been your favorite chapter?
Mm.
Like your teens, 20s, 30s, or 40s. And I was like, you know, I didn't ever think I would say this 20 years ago, but it's my 40s. Because I just feel like in my 40s, I just make way better decisions and I have a type of confidence that I did not have as a teenager, in my 20s or in my
Mhm.
30s. And it's like in my 40s, I have it. And
Yeah.
it started with that conversation
Yeah.
between you and
Mm.
I. Knowing that I wasn't alone just gave me like that confidence again.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really
Amazing.
beautiful.
So would you characterize that as a spark moment? That time that you walked into Soulful Lounge and said, I'm going to take this moment for myself. Did that change things for you?
It did. And I felt the big spark moment was you had said before, like, I no longer have an identity crisis. Like, I've had an identity crisis year after year of my life since I was 7. Since I was probably, you know, once I was aware that I was adopted and all this stuff, that was it. I had no idea. And then forever searching, always being on a
Mhm.
spiritual journey. Who am I? Always looking up to other women. Like it took a minute for me to look in the mirror and really be aware of who I am and what I have been through and the fact that I have survived things and I do have notches on my belt and I'm not new to this. I didn't have that going into Spark. You know, I came into Spark so again curious and open and vulnerable and to tell the story on stage was the light,
Mm.
right? Because it's always like, you know, a show is coming, you know, the performance is going to happen, but when you're actually in it, especially the first one, like it was beyond out of body experience, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I am telling this story and I don't know who's hearing it, you know,
Right.
like I'm telling
Total leap of faith.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to know, like, they're going to know. People who know me as Lauren, people who know me as Luz, like, they're going to know something now that I have no control over.
Yeah.
And that's why also, like, I haven't ever spoken about my birth certificate because it was a shame where just not being aware also was a reminder that I just also wasn't aware of myself. So how could I
Mhm.
know who I am on paper if I didn't even know who I am in living?
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So
Mm.
Something so basic, right?
yeah, it is
Yeah.
so basic, and it's
Mhm.
something that people do know usually right off the bat. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
this
It's
is
a
who I
given.
am. This is my name. This is my mother. This is my father. Or maybe you don't have all that info, but this is your info,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I went a
So I
little
do
off
just
the
want to
rails
say,
now.
yeah, but I do just want to say, like, I want to let people know, obviously we're not going into the story, but the facts are, right? Tell people the facts. You were born in, and then what happened?
So I was born in Bogota, Colombia. I'm half Colombian, half Native Indian, adopted by 2 Eastern European Jews. And I grew up in the Forgotten Barrel that used to have the second biggest dump in the world. That is called Heroin Island, Staten Island, New York. So it's a big mix. It's a big pot. And when I found out I was adopted from my mom, real quick, she told me while she taught me for the first time how to shave my legs.
Wow.
That's when she told me that I was adopted.
So that was like what? 12?
I was
I don't
7.
know.
I was 7.
7, you were
7.
shaving your legs at
I
7?
was. Yeah, you know what? I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tammy's more
I
surprised
was
by
such a
that.
late bloomer.
it
I'm
was.
telling you.
It wasn't
Same.
something I was doing consistent, but
Well,
that was
I mean,
her.
you were a New Yorker, so maybe
I
that
know.
was different.
And
I
you
was
know,
down in the
that
South
was
in Maryland.
Yeah, Midwest, we weren't allowed to do that until we were double digits. I mean, that was
That was
Catholic
my-
school. We didn't look past our hips
no,
in Catholic
correct.
school.
We had to have
Look
hairy
at our
legs,
legs.
apparently.
Oh my God.
The legs had to be hairy when you were in
Right.
those Catholic school uniforms. It was just a must.
But this was my mother's bridge. You know,
Wow.
this was her bridge to feel comfort in telling me something, right?
Right.
So I remember when she said it, like one of my first thoughts, was, I'm not related to your family. Like I felt this, like, I'm going to be blunt, like this sense of relief, because there was always something that felt so off.
Yes.
Like there was just something so off that I was just like, I don't know, something tells me something, something. And it was like to hear it and then to find out that I wasn't white, so it was this whole like impactful moment of like relief, but also, oh my God.
Right. Right. I mean, after all, you are 7.
I'm 7 and I'm shaving my legs.
And you're shaving your leg.
Like I still baby my 8-year-old, like I can imagine. And that, like, to bridge back, and that's the picture of the 5-year-old in me.
Yeah, just 2 years later, like this is happening to you.
So thank God at 5, I already had what I had within me to even take that on at 7, so
right.
I just always felt like I wasn't a new soul, like I was an old soul, and I have become a new soul. But coming in, I was a little too ready, like just, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Have you ever had your Akashic records done?
What's that?
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh. It's the blueprint. It's the blueprint of your soul.
Oh, wow. No, I haven't ever had that done.
Yeah, I'd be
I'm
very
like, is that a medical test?
I know. Another piece of paper I don't have. No.
Dang it.
Yeah, no, and we can talk about it later, but it'd be really interesting, because a lot about your past lives come up and other lives that you have lived and other roles you have taken on. So it's always really fascinating. Right?
I have done a native Indian cleansing I did with a woman when I was pregnant with my son. I was pregnant with my son because I found that I was pregnant with my son literally 2.5 weeks after I buried my father. And again, I was like when I went to the nurse, like she was the one who was like, "You're pregnant." And I was the one who was like, "What?" Like I had this plan of like debauchery, at least for 6 months, and so I immersed myself into everything, like light therapy, chanting, beads every day. And I did a native Indian cleansing, and she went in depth, of like some like past life stuff. It made complete sense. And the one thing I'll share is when she told me that I was a man at a point in my life, and I was a bachelor who had many women, and I was a writer. And I was just like, oh my God, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I've always felt such a strong sense of masculinity. And I was so ashamed of it for so many years of my life. And I found out probably later on, it's more just growing up in Staten Island. It just gives you this more of a aggressive just edge. Like to hear that, yes, I was a man, like it just made so much sense.
Yeah. So that's what Akashic records are. So she was reading, like a little snippet of your Akashic records as a healer, maybe some kind of guide or channel. Yeah. So so that's amazing, right? And it resonates. Doesn't that resonate?
And you remember those things, right?
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're adopted, like you remember these things because you're like, that's information that's already in depth. That's in my scripture. Like,
right.
Everything else has been told or whatever the case may be. But that's like, it was like finding my birth certificate.
Mm.
Like again, I think self-awareness, like, oh man, wow, that makes so much sense. And I was like 8 months pregnant and she's throwing water on me and smoke all over me. And I was just like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Wow, that makes sense,
This is great. I love this. I mean, it is
So funny.
validating when someone tells you something, whether it's Akashic record or whether it's astrology or something, and it validates something internally, and you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
I
And
feel
you
like
don't
I've
know
always
why you
known.
know it, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you're like,
Exactly.
this just rings so true, so very true. And it's a
Yeah.
perfect stranger, someone who would never, like, they don't know anything about you or your history or anything that about, what you've been through. So it's extremely validating.
Yeah.
Um, I want to ask you though, and you don't have to go deeply in depth on this, but I am curious because I'm kind of what I'm trying to get to with people who did their monologues in Spark. I didn't do a monologue, partly because I ran out of time because of aforementioned buying and selling of houses and whatnot. So I ended up doing a song. But for people who
A
did a
beautiful
monologue,
song.
oh,
Yes, we love the song.
thank you. I'm curious about the process of writing your monologue. And you came on right away and said, I'm a different person now than I was when I started Spark. And so I'm really curious to hear from you just the arc of your own experience in writing your monologue and identifying what you wanted to share and what pieces were going to be healthy to share.
Mm.
Like, were there pieces you left out because maybe it wasn't, or like, what was your process for writing your monologue and how did that affect you?
When I did the first draft, I was in summary being my old self. So when I first received feedback on it, I didn't so much get defensive. I more was like, this is what I needed.
Hmm.
This is what I needed to hear. Beth got through to me, our director, right? She was our
Yeah.
director.
Yep.
She got through to me in a way with the writing that shifted me, whether I wanted it or not, because
Mm.
she said the words that you don't ever want to hear is, I feel like I'm not getting the full picture.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, that shows up a lot in my life, and like, this is my story and it's showing
Mhm.
up,
Mm.
and then she said this one thing where she said the word timeline. And I was like, of course. Like when I sat back down with the material, it was like, that's right. There's no timeline. She needs to know how this led up to this spark moment. How did it happen? Where I felt I was more jumping in to it and why it has to be told, and it has to be told this way. And I was more just telling more of the jewel than kind of explaining how the jewel was made. How was I made? How did I get here? And I've taken that more in depth into all of my writing of, because I've always felt that. I always felt like either people aren't hearing me or they're just not getting it. Like they're not getting me. They don't get it. Right. And for someone to say the things that she said to me on something so personal, the first thought was she's not getting it. Right.
Mm.
She's saying, there's something I'm not getting. There's something I'm missing. So that's when it came very clear to me that I also had to sit down with my own story of how did I get here?
Mm.
And it was unwrapping, the 7-year-old moments and the 12-year-old moments. And again, being reminded of who I am, and a lot of that came from the writing process because I wanted to tell everything, right? You feel everything
Right.
is important, especially when you're writing it.
Yeah.
My mind goes faster than I can write. So I am a bullet point person and I use index cards like throughout. I have a wall right in front of me over here. I can't turn the computer because it'll be a mess. I won't get it back straight. It's all index cards and sticky notes, and that's how my mind works. And what I realized was I wasn't doing that with the piece. I was just
Mm.
writing. I was
Mm.
rambling. I was not being edited. which at times can be difficult for a comedian to edit, especially when telling a story. So it was just that awareness of I'm not being heard. So what do I need to do in order to be heard? How do I let my story be heard that it's relatable in a way of, I felt like my main story was self-awareness. It was self-identity. It was, loving myself. And through Beth's direction of such simplicity, also, like, I felt like I've taken writing classes, I've read writing books, right? I've sat with the greatest people, but I still wasn't getting it in my writing. And it was just such relatable feedback that just sparked me being able to tell the story so incredibly edited and timelined. And once I had the timeline, my science came together of this is how I work. I always need a blueprint. I need to see it in order for it to happen. And now it's like, how am I not putting that in my story? My story has to have a timeline. It has to have bullet points in order for me to even share it, or I'm not being myself, right? Like as a comedian, I love riffing, but I still need a blueprint when I'm riffing. I still need to control what's happening and coming out of my mouth. So when it came time to perform it, I also brought back a golden lesson that took me many, many years to learn with being on stage was I always took my adrenaline and heart racing to be fear, that I was scared. I had anxiety. And with this, I was so drill sergeant on myself before every performance that I was going to have fun. And that I was going to just let go because it's my story. There is no, I forgot a line. There is no, what do I say next? Because number one, I have a blueprint. And I knew also that I was about to open up a portal. And that's why I also had a bit of fear, we'll call it. I had a bit of fear because I didn't 100% know if I was ready for what was going to happen after this. Because it is so spiritual. There's no way any of us did this and nothing happened after.
Right.
You are so aware, like, this is happening because I said yes. I said yes. There's no way I wouldn't have been aligned in the way I am aligned with things that are happening right now. So it was like, am I ready for that? Am I? Because I've always had this thought in the back of my head because someone many years ago, a life coach, told me that I was full of shit. So that has
That's what you want to hear from a life coach.
Yeah, but I appreciated it because when
I know
shit, and I was like, I am full of shit. And no one has ever said it.
And
so
that cost me.
Yeah.
Like,
So I always ask myself, am I being full of shit? And I keep circling back to like the in-depthness of when you actually perform it. Like that was the question I asked myself when the lights went off and it was time for me to go up. I was like, are you full of shit? And I was like, I'm actually not. And
that's amazing.
Telling the story also on stage when the white light is on you and you're not able to fully see the audience also is just so orgasmic and eclectic. Like just it is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like you're telling your story into the unknown. And that's all I could have asked for. I didn't want to be in a room where all the lights are on and I could see 75 faces staring at me. I would do it, of course, but to have it be such a abyss Star Wars universal like experience with our own eyes was everything. It was the music and the candles and the silence. Like I couldn't have asked for anything more to tell the story. And again, like to circle back that we're doing this again. Like
I love that you just said like that you were
amazing.
opening up a portal by saying yes, you were opening up a portal of greater alignment and greater flow and greater things. And you talking about that heart racing, that heart pounding feeling of fear, and you're like, oh, that's just fear before I go on. There are in Hebrew there are two words for fear. There's yara and pahad, but they're two different types of fear. And the English language is so limited, right? So these ancient languages have more words for like, we have one, they have 20. This one.
Yeah.
But so pahad is like the fear when you're being chased by a tiger or something. It's like real legit, like, shit, I got to get out of here fear, right? Like my life's in danger. Yara is a fear that we feel often, but it's a fear of stepping into something bigger. It's encountering a bigger energy than you have previously encountered. And it feels very similar to Pahad, but it's not the same. So your body has the same reaction, but it's different because it is opening you up to that other portal. So, I mean, I feel that like almost every time that I perform, and certainly going into Spark, where it really was so unknown because we didn't know who was in the audience. We didn't know how they were going to react. Like this was so unique. It was so unique that it was a big Yura. It had a lot of Yura energy around it. I felt like
you couldn't not feel it. And my daughter, really quick, I'll share, she's in love with the stage as well. And before she has done performances, to also teach her that lesson, you know, because she's like, I'm scared, I'm so nervous, I'm scared, I'm nervous. And I'm like, no, you're ready. You're ready. That's excitement. That's adrenaline. That's you're ready for this. That's what that means. That's all that is. And it's like to say it to her and know that I learned it the hardest way, but the right way, you know, because it's true. There's no fear. We're not scared to go on stage, and we wouldn't go on stage, you know. Like, I'm not scared to go on stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, just you're ready. And it felt like that with every performance that we did. It didn't feel like, all right, here we go, we got to do it again. You know, it really was, every time felt like you were being shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's such a good way to put it. Yeah. So, you know what I love about all this though? I'm just like, and now you're on the other side of it. I'm on the other side. Becky's on the other side, right? The women that have shared this experience, right? And exactly what you're articulating, right? Like this portal is opening up. We don't know what's on the other side. And now you're talking about it. You are on the other side. And what you're sharing is there's alignment, there's freedom, there's more confidence, there's more trusting my own voice, right? There's more, I'm showing up and I'm not afraid to express who I am because I know who I am, right? How amazing is that?
It
right?
is.
And that's why we say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And like we have to celebrate that moment.
And I feel like a little voice has even been created since Spark. You know, when I get hesitant or when I second guess or if I unsureness, there's this voice that's like, you got it. Or you know what to do. You know, it's so simple. And that started when Spark ended.
Wow.
You know, because it was like, if I can do that, I really can do what I choose. You know, I can do something that seems so impossible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like,
especially since you had the vision of doing something like that, right? But you just had no idea. It's like what they say about, like, it's great to have dreams, build the biggest dreams up in the highest clouds, and then just build the foundation underneath, right? Like, build up to those dreams. And that's what happened. Like, you made it happen. The alignment of trusting yourself to go into that meditation class, even though your friend had like bailed out and she was supposed to be your buffer.
Oh my God. And I was in all black. Like, I had a hat on, you know, like I was coming in hot.
But you still went.
And I still went and it came back.
Thank goodness.
And then she got promoted to the advanced class.
And it's that too, doing it with all women and all of us being together and all of us sharing our stories. Like, it's remarkable. And the exercises we did before every show and standing in a circle together and doing the noises or dancing, like, man, when I look at those videos, like, I'm like, you can't buy that.
Yeah.
You can't buy that. And it's a reminder of why it's so important to say yes. It's so important to say yes, especially to the stuff that scares us.
Exactly.
Like, when we got into the circle, really quick, audience, we did exercises before every show. And Tami would have these like fantastic, whether it was words or noises or just dancing or sure, whatever we were doing, like that's something that I take with me now before every show. Like I was always shaking my body before a show, but now like it's like a shake dance. Just to like, just to center myself of a voice.
Yes.
Like it's so much came out of Spark. So much. Just so much. I really am. I'm
Yeah,
forever
no,
grateful. I really am.
it's filling my heart like you have no idea. You have no idea, right? So yeah. So, and it's just amazing also to hear you, as a mom, how you've changed too, right? Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, what's come out of that is I'm more in the moment. I'm more aware of the in-depthness of what it means to be a mom. And I was more, for a long time, treating parent as a job. Like it was a job. And I also had a bullet point in all these things. And now it's like, I tell myself, like, I look at my kids and I have appreciation for them now, and I have gratitude. And I always did, but it was more, I feel delivered in a business mode versus a love mode, and I enjoy now, even if they're watching those stupid YouTube shows, they're so stupid.
They are so
But I
stupid.
get it, it's entertaining, but I'll sit there with them now and like watch it. Just those little moments is what has changed for me as a mom since Spark as well. Like I'm just so much more aware of the little moments. And I would more gloss over them or not be in the moment with them when it was happening. And I'm more gentle, I'll say. I'm more gentle with either delivery of my words or if they're taking 9 hours to put on their socks. And also the importance of the relationship between my daughter and I has changed. And that was being with all of you women, like the power of women. And it's important that my daughter does see me pushing myself to be a better version of myself because she's seen my worst self. She's seen it, the pandemic, like she saw things, that probably she wouldn't have seen for years down the road. Lock me in a room and you're going to get me,
Oh, yeah.
Well, all of our kids get to see the worst. I feel like
yeah.
kids do get your worst.
Yeah, they do. And,
They
just
see
like
it.
our partners can, right? Or, your closest. And so also me being more of her friend, but in a mom way has tremendously changed. Like I listen now and her feelings do matter and her point of views do matter. I felt like I was more like, well, that's good, but you should really be doing this,
Right.
well, do that, this can happen. And it's more like, okay, like that didn't ever work for me. And that's why I went in the discoveries that I went at young age because I wasn't given the freedom to express. Even though I probably could have, I didn't feel it. So I didn't. So I'm more aware of her spiritual journey as well and how much I play a part in all of it. Who she is and who she's developing into is a lot of me. And I had no patience for it. So now it's like anything. I can go in her room and tell her, what are you doing? You have to clean your room. You can't live like this. And then I go in my room and it's the same exact thing. There's shit everywhere. I still haven't put the laundry away, right? Like, but how can I tell this human to get your shit together when I don't have my shit together, So it's just those little changes that have had such tremendous ripple effects of her just hanging with me more, hugging with me more, us wanting to, I want to spend more time with her now too. Like I'm good with double digits, 6 digits with my daughter were rough, but now, and I know a lot of it, again, to go back, a lot of it has to do with Spark because a part of me healed by telling the story. Like, 'cause it's a story that I allowed to do from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being negative and 10 being great, I've done all the numbers with this story
Wow.
towards myself, to my mental state. So to be able to tell it out loud, to say my name out loud behind a microphone, like, was something I didn't ever know I was going to do, but always prayed for myself that I will find out who I truly am. You know, Lauren was more told to me, whether through family, the world. Lose Michelle, I'm more in charge of. And then my other name, which you have to see the show to hear it.
Yeah. Very
She-
good, Liz.
Thank
Very
you.
good. I like how you did that.
Marketing.
I like how you did that.
Is beyond.
Yeah.
It's beyond, because it really is who I am. Really.
Yeah.
So to spark off her with something like this is, again, it's the golden ticket. It didn't have to be hard. And that's what, in summary, I have always wanted to say to you, Tami, is, without crying, you made my journey not hard. So I appreciate that, because it's always felt hard. So for this to be handled so gently and beautifully and respectfully, like, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed. So just like forever
you.
grateful. Just
Thank
forever.
you. And
Yeah.
I am too. And I am too. Thank
Yeah.
you. Man,
So-
the tears are
Oh,
happening.
don't let
Yeah.
them see you cry. Never
Yeah.
behind the mic. Never. No.
I'm glad I
But
got my
really, like,
glasses on.
what it sounds like, just because of what you said earlier about your identification with more of the masculine energy. And it really sounds, just from what I'm hearing you say, that you really tapped into a feminine energy that
Yes.
may have been somewhat new to you, and that has really kind of cracked open and opened up just a new way of interfacing and experiencing life.
1,000%, Becky, just 1,000. Like, I don't know if you girls have noticed, but I'm growing out my hair.
I did notice
It's
that.
getting there. She's getting there. She's growing. And that also came out of the aftermath of what we did, because one day I just didn't get the shave, and I was like, let me part my hair down the middle. And when I did it and I caught myself and I started doing my makeup and all my stuff, I felt that sexual energy again for my own self. Like, I felt, that feminine fire again. And I loved shaving my head. I loved having that journey for myself. What I realized, though, from a conductor's point of view, was the shave also represented my aggressiveness and my masculinity and just all that, and being able to show it without having to say anything. Right? I'd walk in the room, her head is shaved. I'm already giving off things. I'm giving off stories in people's heads, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Positive,
And don't
negative.
fuck with me. Don't you
Yeah,
fuck
positive,
with me.
negative, all of it, right?
Yeah.
And then to now be growing out my hair. And when I look in the mirror now, and even when I get dressed, I'm making different choices, because I haven't felt my feminine side. And I swear to you, I think it's been like 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
I haven't
Wow.
felt that, just that empowerment of the beauty that I have and the sexuality that I have. And because I've always been a sexual woman, and now in my mid 40s and married with kids, I always had a fear of losing her. And so to feel that again, feel ignited again, it's a different kind of confidence.
Wow.
I feel, especially for us women, just to feel feminine. And when I share that with some friends, like, it's relatable, because it's like, do I feel feminine? Especially as moms and wives and all of it, just all of it, working every day. Like,
Adulting. We're adulting now.
Yeah, a
right?
lot
It's
to
like-
do.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Diane von Futzen was on it. I'm terrible with names, so if I botcher it, I feel like you guys know who I'm talking about, the designer.
DVF.
The wrap
DVF.
dress.
Yes, and
DVF. Yes.
she's on the podcast Wiser with Elaine from Seinfeld. I'm obsessed.
Yes.
Oh my
So
God. So
good.
great. Yes.
So good.
And she said this one line where she was asked what is her feeling on aging. And she said, I'm not aging, I'm living.
Mm.
And I took that like so deeply because I'm like, yes, that's right. Because it would scare me to be aware of who I am in my mid 40s. Like at times I'd be like, fuck, I don't know if we can curse, but I would
We
just
can
be like,
curse.
Yeah.
damn, like I lost 20 years and who I am today, I was 10 years ago, even like, oh man, it would have been so great, you know? And it was a reminder hearing that line of like, that's right, I'm living. So that's why at 45, I'm a 44. Well, how old am I? What year is it? I'm 44. To be
It's an
aware,
energy. It's all good.
yeah, like to be aware of who I am. Like
Mhm.
I'm so goddamn thankful for that because
Yeah,
it's been such a journey to have that,
Mm.
just such a
totally.
journey.
I love
Totally.
it. I love
Yeah.
it. This might be a hard question to answer, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. Thinking about the whole progression of Spark. So it can be any point along the progression. So it can be the performance, it can be what happened after, it can be what happened before, but just in the whole arc of being involved in Spark. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but that did. In the arc of Spark, what was your favorite or the most standout Spark moment for you? Like, what was your favorite moment in this journey?
Ah, favorite moment.
Or moments, if you have more than one.
One I will say was being in the green room with all the women before showtime, because there's something about being a part of a project when it's all women that is a reminder to me that I'm in the right place of my life. I'm supposed to be here. Because
Mhm.
I've always had a lot of women in my life. I've always been surrounded by women. I've always been involved in groups. Since my early 20s, I've always had multiple groups of women that are my friends from all different backgrounds and beyond. And to have that again in 2024 was just a reminder of everything's okay.
Mm.
Those were my moments that I had a lot throughout the Spark experience. Was I kept having a reminder that I'm okay. Like I'm okay.
Mm,
If I'm okay
mm,
because I wouldn't be here. I'm okay or I wouldn't be with these women. I'm okay or these women wouldn't be opening up in such a vulnerable way. And yeah, I had three favorite moments. My other moment was everything we did before the shows. Like just getting ready with someone
yeah.
was so much. It meant so much to me because for 14 years, I usually get ready for a show by myself. And
Yeah, I felt that.
hey,
Yeah.
so to be able to do like these warm-up exercises with each other, knowing we were about to embark on such a vulnerable journey together was everything. It was everything, those moments.
Hmm.
Oh man. And then especially when we would walk back on stage with our candles and we went into line and then they would start showing our photos and then we would take the bows. Like even in that moment, like it was remarkable to feel the ending of something that had so much energy around it, building up and all of it. And here we are taking a bow.
Mm.
Like that. The bows were just so, it felt like the notch on the belt.
Mhm.
Like each
Mm,
night was just like another notch because as a performer, I was aware that each performance was going to get better no matter what. Like no matter what, each performance is going to get better because it felt like being on stage naked, where if I go on stage naked tonight and I do it again tomorrow and the next day, I'm going to gain more confidence. So I felt like it was happening within all of our stories. How we told our story on Friday night was completely different from how we told our stories on Sunday. And even
Yeah.
what we walked away from, I felt too, like when we rapped, like rap, normally I'm not good with transition according to my therapist. I like it to like embody like a river or like a wave. Um, it didn't feel like a band-aid ripped off. It just felt right. It was like we
mm,
had our time together, and I know universally we won't all ever be in the same room together again, all of us. We won't. And as we can see with part 2, there's 2 who aren't going to be with us for this one, but we have a new beautiful light coming in, so it was also that moment for me when we were all in the after party. I told myself, like, take this in, like, for real, because you guys won't ever be together again like this in a room together. Like, you won't. And it's okay. We had our time together with this journey.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a graduation onto what's next. And again, I said it earlier, like there was no way nothing great was going to happen after this. Like, it was almost like a universal law that because we polished off our jewels, like we're going to be part of the crown now. Like, there's no one taking it. Like,
I love that.
We're in it. We're in it. No one can take it from us. So overall, for me, it really is, it's the sisterhood. It's the vulnerability and the comfort from complete strangers. I was lucky and blessed to have Shauna Lane with me. We've been comedians together for a very long time, and we've been on this journey together through the highs and the lows. So to be a part of something with her that was so deep, and her story, like all of it was just, it was a gift within itself. And that was also a favorite moment of mine. Every time Shauna performed and the light was shining on her, I was just so thankful for her friendship. Like I was just like, I fucking love you. I'm so happy you're in my life. Like I'm so happy you're on this goddamn crazy ass journey with me. Like all of it. So again, the word spark is so beyond perfect because that's what each moment feels like. Because it's completely new. No spark is ever the same. And that's what it felt like, right? When you look at a firework, none of it is
That's right.
a sparkler. None of it is the same. And that's why the word, and I'm seeing it behind you, the playbill, mine's over there. It's like, it's a reminder to remember the sparks.
That's right.
Especially that journey, because there was so many, and it could get overwhelming. Like, oh, I don't want it to end. Oh, I don't want to miss this. Or, oh, did I feel it? Was I in the moment? Was I there? Was I in my head? Was I being myself? Was I nasty? Was I rude? Did you hear that delivery? Like, all that would happen, but it was okay. Like, so again, like to be able to do this again is just, it's a universal, it's a present, it's a gift, right? It's a present, right? Because it's present. It's a spark. It is, because it sparks the next spark for us, right? Like we're going to do this in November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And like, what's going to happen the week of the 4th is beyond us. Beyond us, like record deals, and we're gonna write books, and we're gonna have a jet, like of course, good
Netflix, are you listening?
Like like
especially to the jet part. I'm gonna need that to get back from Indiana.
But good for the environment, we're gonna use something. And also, like one of the biggest gifts I did come out of this journey that I'm very thankful for, because it's always been such a yo-yo education for me, was the word manifestation. Like I felt like I thought I knew what manifestation was, or I was doing manifestation. And then with this was really the reminder and the blueprint of what manifestation is. To hear everyone's stories, and for us to get to this point in our life, we had to manifest this. We had to. Like the fact that we were all in this together, sharing the most vulnerable stories and being okay with it and comfortable with it and confident with it, like, all of it.
And you know what? Just listening to you, what I'm thinking about is, and for whatever reason, we just let go. We didn't really, well, it felt for me, I will speak for me. I was not very early on in the process. I was like, I'm not going to be attached to any outcome here, right? How this is going to take its shape and how this is going to ultimately be birthed, right? Like I had an idea and I had a vision, but this is about these women. And so I'm just going to trust it. Right. And then going up on stage and, you know, doing my part in it with my story, I was just going to trust it. Right.
Mm.
And that's what it was. It was like this sacred cocoon of trust.
Mm-hmm.
We trusted ourselves. We trusted each other. If somebody needed a little something extra, we were there for them, right? In terms of support or more energy or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And
you
it was,
didn't feel alone.
you
You
didn't
didn't
feel
feel
alone.
alone. Yeah. And I think that's what's so beautiful that was created within all of us was, yeah, we were ready for showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't alone, you know, like, ooh,
Yeah.
like looking at the audience, like, ooh, wait till you hear what we're gonna say, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, Liz, this has been amazing.
I hope so.
So great.
And
So
I can
great.
honestly say, like, tonight when I put my head on my pillow,
Mm.
like, I am going to be thinking about this conversation and also just what you shared
Mhm.
tonight, because honestly, again, I was not attached to any outcome. I just was listening to my heart for the very first time in a really big way and telling my head to shut the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, but to hear how, you know, your life is impacted and your relationship with your daughter, I'm telling you, like, I couldn't have written that I wanted that outcome, but to have that outcome happen, it just melts my heart. And I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that you walked into the Soulful Lounge.
Yes, we are all so happy you walked into the Soulful Lounge that
And,
day.
you know, it just like, it just blows my mind about divine timing, right? Which is like
Yeah.
the name of my piece. Also, I'm gonna shuffle.
Ooh,
It's been a
card.
Oh,
while, Vicky.
yes.
It's been a
Yes.
while. I'm
We
gonna
need a
close out this
card.
episode with a card pull.
We need a card.
Oh,
So,
Yes.
Luz, I'm gonna shuffle these cards. You're gonna tell me when to stop.
okay.
And then when I do that, oh, one fell out. When I do that,
That's ours.
Which
you're
one
gonna
fell out?
I'm gonna show you. But
Okay.
when you say stop, oh, another one fell out.
Oh my
Say
God.
stop. When you say stop, I'm going to turn over the bottom card. Okay.
Okay, stop.
You're like, that's enough. All
Because
right.
I feel like the other two need to be said too.
This is the card that Luz got. Do you guys see this? It's
That's
blowing
the
my
bottom
mind.
card. That's the
Right.
bottom card. And it has sparks all over it. Are you being for real
So-
right now?
Do you see this? It's fiery, it's sparkly, it says victory.
Uh-huh.
The U on the bottom right corner is Archangel Uriel, which is one of my spirit guides.
And what
And
did
it
say on
says
the
victory, wise choices that bring public recognition and success,
Oh, wow.
promotions, awards, or scholarships. But should we get ready for Netflix to call? We're waiting.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
Wow.
who else fell out?
Who flew out? Who flew
Wow.
out?
Wow. These cards are phenomenal. So this flew out. It's 10 of Earth, which is financial security for yourself and your family, inheritance or retirement, peace and contentment in life, honoring family traditions, pride in the family tree, passing on knowledge.
Wow.
Love that.
That's
Wow.
amazing. Guys, do you understand this? This is like,
That's pretty cool.
this is basically everything you ever hoped for. Everything you want is yours.
Hmm. That's beautiful.
I think that's a beautiful message to land on here.
It
Like,
is.
Absolutely.
One
like-
more fell.
Yeah, didn't one more fall? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The star, of course.
And what
I
is
was
it
actually
again?
scared to pick it up because I'm like, man, these two are so good. Like,
Wow.
this flew out also.
The star. Uh-huh. What's
Have
that say?
faith, have faith, the future is bright. Dreams come true. Positive changes that bring an end to challenging times. The light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
So
wow.
also on these two
The
cards,
cards never fail on the show. They
So
never fail.
so these are my angel cards. And so down here, like I was telling you before, what the other one was Uriel. I think this is, let me just see, because we got two of that with the same angel. So I really want to read who this angel is for us.
Okay.
And we
That's
can end on
Uriel?
that note. Huh?
Uriels. We got 2 Uriels.
No, we got 2 of the other ones, which
Oh.
is Jophael.
Oh.
Jophael is the archangel of beauty. She is associated with roses, as people often report having experienced that scent when she is present. Rose petals or the flowers themselves can be a sign that Jophiel is spending time with you. She can help you tidy up your space, that's your room, Luz, and beautify any part of your life. I consider her the archangel of positive thinking and joke that she is like the angelic rose-colored glasses, but in the best of ways. You can also call upon her if your thoughts need cleaning up or if you're trapped in negativity. As you might suspect, her name means the beauty of God, and she resonates to a fuchsia pink shade.
Mm.
And so just to remind you, Jophael is on this star card down here, and the 10 of Earth card here.
Mm.
Wow. That first one, no, I'm sorry, the one with the woman on it, that reminds me, I feel like I keep hearing feminine energy. Like I feel like that's
Totally.
the feminine energy card.
Yes.
Totally.
Totally agree. The water flowing. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just very quickly see what the star
Let's
says.
see what that says.
The major arcana card. Hold on.
It's like the Bible, you know?
I know.
Hey, tell us. It is because
Okay.
the cards feel like they're like little like hope,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, great, yeah.
Archangel Jophael, this is the star. Archangel Jophael shows her complete faith by pouring from the urns without any concern for the water running out. You can make a wish on the star over her shoulder. Oh yeah, she does have a little star up there. Did you see that?
Yes.
What a relief. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's the light of the divine sending you great blessings. The happy changes from the transformation card have arrived. The star is a card of faith, hope, and joy. It brings with it an understanding of the past and a sense of purpose that makes your heart feel so free that you'll want to laugh out loud.
Mm.
With that understanding, you can plan for the future, knowing that all will be well. So wish upon that star. The sky's the limit as you dream of what you want. Trust that the future is truly bright. Additional meanings: faith to move mountains, believing in your future, good fortune, suddenly knowing what to do next, clarity about why things happened in the past, spiritual joy.
It's all said.
That's
It's
what our
all said.
energy and this
All said.
conversation
Yes.
brought forth with these cards.
100%.
As our little closing to our conversation.
And especially the spark and
I
you know,
mean,
seem like it's
you
it
can't
is.
make this shit up. It's crazy.
No, that's
No, you can't. And certain words like spark and light and freedom, like I feel like that's my life can be and is becoming so much better because of the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom. Like, you
That's
know,
right.
like I feel like I walked into meeting you with shackles on. And then like just that freedom energy of just like, okay, I'm okay. Like that,
Mhm.
yeah, how can my life not get better and the visions and the dreams come true? Like it's
yeah.
Right.
And it was your story. Like it was unleashing your story
Right.
is what gave
Right.
you that freedom. And every single one of us can do that.
That's
Every
right.
single one of us. And that's what
And
Spark
everybody
is
listening can do
about.
that, right?
Yeah.
This is what's on the other side of bearing your soul instead of just filling it up with so much baggage.
Yeah. And that's what Spark really, really and truly is about. And
Mhm.
that's, I
And
just
the-
hope everyone will come and see it,
Yeah.
come and see Luz's
Yes.
you have to.
amazing performance on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We're so excited about it.
Luz,
Can't
thank
wait
you
to be
so much for
together.
joining us
Yes,
tonight.
thank you. Thank you.
ladies,
Go be the
so much.
star that you are, baby.
Oh, I will with my rosé glasses. They're like
Yes. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. And
Bye,
so
everybody.
much.
keep shining.
Mhm.